Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bhakti Fundamentals. Today, we're addressing a really important point that came up in one of our recent group discussions. One of our members shared honestly, I feel like Bhakti Yoga is for pure souls, people who are already spiritually inclined. I probably need to clean up my life first before I can really practice it. It's such a sincere and relatable feeling, and it led to a beautiful conversation. Because the truth is, Bhakti Yoga isn't just a reward we receive after we become pure, it's the very process by which we become purified. It's both the starting point and the finish line in its spiritually perfected form in spiritual life. In other words, Bhakti Yoga doesn't require a clean slate to begin, it cleanses the slate. Just as bathing is for the dirty and medicine is for the sick, Bhakti Yoga is for every soul, regardless of their external material circumstances. What's more, Bhakti, loving devotional service to the Supreme, is actually intrinsic to who we are. We are not material beings or bodies trying to become spiritual. We are already spiritual beings by nature. As the scriptures explain, our true identity is that we are eternal servants of Krishna. This is mentioned in a verse that begins Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnara Nityadas from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's just that due to our long association with this material world, we've forgotten our spiritual identity. It's a case of spiritual amnesia, if you will. The processes of Bhakti Yoga, like hearing about Krishna, chanting the maha mantra, and remembering Krishna throughout our day, work to cleanse our consciousness, gently removing our spiritual amnesia, the so-called dust of our forgetfulness of Krishna and of our spiritual identity. That dust is the material conditioning that leads us to believe that we are our material bodies instead of individual eternal spirit souls. As we become spiritually purified through the practices of Bhakti Yoga, something extraordinary begins to happen. We start to see clearly who we really are. We realize that we are not our material body or mind, we are the soul, eternally a servant of the Supreme Person, Krishna. And as we engage in the ninefold processes of Bhakti Yoga, our dormant love for Krishna begins to naturally awaken. It's like someone who has undergone eye surgery. At first, their vision is completely obscured, but then, as the bandages are gently removed, they gradually begin to perceive the world again, clearly and better than before the surgery. In the same way, Bhakti Yoga is remedial, and step by step, it removes our material consciousness and replaces it with spiritual consciousness, allowing us to properly see ourselves, others, and Krishna. Thus, it's not that we have to first reach some standard of purity or discipline or worthiness before we can begin to practice Bhakti Yoga. That idea can actually become a major stumbling block for many people on the spiritual path, thinking, I'm not good enough yet, or let me first fix my life, then I'll approach the Supreme. In reality, it's Krishna, as the Supreme Pure, who purifies us through the 9 processes of Bhakti Yoga. The process of Bhakti Yoga was, after all, invented by him for us. And just by coming into contact with Krishna, especially through his holy names, our consciousness begins to transform from material to spiritual. In Bhakti Yoga, one of our core practices is chanting the purifying names of the Supreme in the form of the maha mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When we chant this mantra with sincerity, Krishna hears our call out to him, and he reciprocates with us by cleansing away the layers of our material consciousness. At the same time, he awakens our dormant spiritual desires and our dormant love for him. We ourselves could never remove the layers of our material desires on our own. We need Krishna's help, and he supplies us with that help. Krishna doesn't wait for us at the finish line. He walks with us every step of the way in our spiritual life. In fact, as Paramatma, Supersoul, Krishna even accompanies us before we approach the starting line of spiritual life, although he's much happier when we do take up spiritual life. As Paramatma, the Supersoul within the heart of every living entity, Krishna is our constant companion, our dearest friend. He is with us not only in this lifetime, but birth after birth, never leaving us, always knowing our deepest hopes and intentions. And he reciprocates with our actual foremost desires and intentions. As Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 11, Yayata mam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. In this verse of the Gita, Krishna tells us that he reciprocates with each of us personally. If we take one small step toward him, Srila Prabhupada would say, Krishna responds by taking 10 steps towards us. Krishna reciprocates with us according to our sincerity and desire. Whether we're stumbling, sprinting, or just learning to walk spiritually, he meets us exactly where we are and guides us from that point. We used the example of seeing clearly after surgery earlier. Bhakti Yoga changes our vision from material to spiritual. To use a similar analogy, it's like giving someone with poor eyesight a pair of corrective lenses. Before, everything was blurry or distorted, but with the proper prescription, reality comes into focus. Bhakti Yoga acts as our spiritual corrective lenses. The corrective lenses of Bhakti Yoga allow us to see everything in the material world as it is, versus how we think or wish it was. Until we have spiritual knowledge, we all look at everything through material lenses, seeing everything around us materially, through our false identification with matter. Again, this is our material conditioning. However, once we have spiritual knowledge and begin to apply that knowledge through the practices of Bhakti Yoga, we can see ourselves and the world in its proper context, and we will know how to act spiritually. This is in our best interest, and the best interest of others as well. Srila Prabhupada often said that Bhakti Yoga is the remedial measure, the panacea for counteracting the sufferings of material life. In the text of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear the verse, O Brahmana Vyasadeva. It is decided by the learned that the best remedial measure for removing all troubles and miseries is to dedicate one's activities to the service of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And in the purport, or explanation to this important verse, Srila Prabhupada writes, the most feasible and practical way to open the path of salvation or get relief from all miseries of life is to hear submissively the transcendental activities of the Lord from the right and bona fide sources. This is the only remedial process. The entire material existence is full of miseries. People have manufactured many remedial measures for removing the threefold miseries pertaining to the body and mind, pertaining to the natural disturbances, and in relation with other living beings. The whole world is struggling very hard to exist in spite of these miseries, but people do not know that without the sanction of the Lord, no plan or no remedial measure can actually bring about the desired peace and tranquility. But what can bring about the desired peace? Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga, according to Krishna himself, is the cure or prescription for removing our material consciousness. Material consciousness leaves us spiritually weak and vulnerable to the material miseries described in the purport we just read from. It keeps us absorbed in our various bodily identifications and forgetful of our true self, that we are the soul and eternally servants of the Supreme. However, Bhakti Yoga replaces our material consciousness with spiritual consciousness. And spiritual consciousness helps us to navigate this material world and not live in constant fear of old age and death, since we'll be in constant remembrance that we and everyone else are eternal spirit souls. It's important to understand that the cure offered by Bhakti Yoga is prescriptive, not speculative. In other words, genuine spiritual life is not subject to our speculation, imagination, or anyone's personal invention. Rather, the Supreme Himself, Krishna, through the revealed scriptures, bona fide gurus or teachers, and sincere bhakti practitioners, tells us exactly how to make progress on the path of Bhakti Yoga, which is the direct path to Him and to the spiritual world, our true home. So when we take up the practices of Bhakti Yoga, we are treating the root problem of life, not just the symptoms. This is the difference between curing a disease and merely masking the pain. Some months ago, my grandmother was hospitalized for very bad pain in her stomach region. At the hospital, they gave her body morphine and sent her home. Thus, they treated her symptom of pain, but did not identify the real underlying problem. Material life often offers diversions that, like certain modern medical approaches, treat only the symptoms while ignoring the actual disease. We tend to chase temporary material relief measures, distractions on our phones, entertainment on our iPads and televisions, even substances like drugs or alcohol. But these only numb the pain of material life for a short time. They never address the real cause of our suffering. Bhakti Yoga addresses the root cause of all of our material suffering, our separation from Krishna, the supreme absolute truth. Want real happiness of a permanent variety? Try the remedial measure of Bhakti Yoga. Not once a week or once a month or once a year. Remember that Krishna reciprocates with us according to our degree of spiritual desire and according to our efforts to connect with Him. If we sincerely try to connect with Krishna every day, then He meets us where we are, every day. And the cure that Krishna has prescribed for reconnecting with Him every day is startlingly simple. We are just one sincere spiritual practice away from reestablishing our lost connection with Krishna. And that practice is chanting the Maha mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This chanting is not an ordinary activity. It is the Yuga Dharma, which means that it is the spiritual practice specifically recommended for this age, Kali Yuga, the current age we are living in. Krishna himself has recommended chanting the Maha Mantra because it is the fastest and most effective means of transforming our consciousness from material to spiritual in this day and age. By chanting his holy names, we invite Krishna into our hearts, and when he enters, he purifies us from within. To bring this session full circle, this is what makes Bhakti Yoga a path for every soul, regardless of one's material background, situation, or circumstances. There are no material impediments or initial criteria that can stand in the way of our practice of Bhakti Yoga, except the ones that we place there ourselves. Indeed, Krishna is so merciful that Bhakti Yoga doesn't demand perfection or any prior qualifications like the prerequisites required for a college major. Krishna simply asks for our sincerity. And Bhakti Yoga offers such a simple daily medicine for connecting to Krishna in the form of the maha mantra. We just need to take it. So that's all we have for today. Thank you for listening, and let us know if you have any questions that we can answer in our upcoming sessions. In the meantime, thank you for being with us today, and we'll see you next time on Bhakti Fundamentals.